I will be manning the chat. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to add them. I will most likely save questions for the end just to allow for a better flow for our presenter. But if there's anything that you want answered right away, you can either message me that or feel free to unmute yourself and just join the conversation. We are happy to have this be a more interactive experience as well. And then I will pass it onward to Tracie Ann. Have we been able to connect your slides with our presentation?
I think we should be able to. Let me.
Perfect.
And while she gets that up, just to let you all know, Tracie Ann's slides are available as in a PDF version on iEcho, as well as, wait, let me see. Oh, I did not put it. I will put it while we're in session.
And if I could ask that you give me enable my share screen, then I can do it.
Okay, you should be good. Sorry about that.
Okay. Welcome. Hi, I am Tracie Ann Tjapkes, and I want to thank the pediatric echo community, Dr. Maya Maxim, Dr. Lena Luker, and Summer for making this possible. I'm joining you today as I'm an executive coach and board certified health and wellness coach. Additionally, I work at the University of Hawaii John A. Burns School of Medicine in the Dean's Office, where I work to support the well-being and resiliency for the faculty, students, residents, and staff. What I think about is how to support people with helpful habits and how to design systems for healthy and well living. So when I designed this for you today, I'm aiming for this half hour to be a mindful presence of connection and meaning, something really practical that you can use professionally and or personally in the way of boosting belonging. I want to disclose that I have no financial interest in the information that I'm sharing and appreciate that this is also available to you for CE and CME credits. So let's join together, and I invite you, thank you Anna for monitoring the chat. Everybody, if you would, what's on the top of your mind right now? Whatever the answer is, it's the right answer.
I like the answer of lunch. Oh, to-do lists. I'm seeing that as well. Yes, to-dos, upcoming meetings.
So we've got some commonalities. It's about lunchtime, so I'm not surprised that maybe people are fueling up. And it's midday, so there are other things to do. What I want to do now is to ask you to just kind of leave it at the door. It's going to be waiting for you. So if you can give yourself that permission to just kind of leave it, and it'll be there. Now, to keep things simple, I will not be inviting everybody into a breakout, but I'm going to take a moment to describe that if we were into a breakout, this is what would be happening for you. I'll be very brief, and then I'll tie it back to this whole business of mindful encounters. Here's an image, and if it's something that's familiar to you, go ahead and chat. It's a grounding activity that happens with no tools at all. It's really 5 pictures, as you can see. Kind of might look like an eye test. And if we were doing it together, let's say it's Anna and I would be asking Anna questions and holding my fingers up. And I would begin by asking her to name 5 things she sees, 4 things that maybe she can touch, 3 things she can hear, 2 things she can smell, And I would kind of lower my fingers that she doesn't have to keep count. And the last piece would be one thing she can feel. So a little bit, if you've done this before, this one's a little different in that we are actually thinking about our emotion. So feel free, if you'd like to share your emotion, you may. And you don't have to memorize things. They're in my deck that would show you exactly what it is that's possible. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this, and this may be a refresher for many, because we have a national epidemic. And the epidemic is the epidemic of loneliness. It became more evident for us, I think, when we lived through the pandemic of that COVID crazy time is what I call it. The significant health consequences of being lonely and isolated are such that it is really an opportunity for us to prioritize building social connection the same way we've prioritized other critical public health issues, whether it be no tobacco, addressing obesity, substance use disorder. Together we can build a country, we can build a state, you can build your neighborhood to be something healthier, more resilient, less lonely, and more connected. And I want to give you a specific example. When we think of loneliness, you might often think of the person who's physically a person of one with no one around them. But loneliness is really tricky. We can be in community just like we are now and feel disconnected. So I know many of you have your cameras off, but if you have sensed that or experienced that yourself, go ahead and chat in. Yes, that is something that's you can imagine. So what the beauty of this is Dr. Vivek Murthy does say the antidote to loneliness is within us. It's hidden within us. So in our time today, I'm going to walk you through a journey. I'm going to talk specifically about what belonging is or is not. I'll tie it to feelings and then something called moments and shaping. And before we leave here today, you'll receive at least 2 application tools that I hope will be very practical that you can put into play into your life. And if I've succeeded, maybe between now and before your head hits the pillow, you might share it with one more person, just one of these elements here. So let's begin. Join me in looking at this picture. On the left are elements that describe belonging, and on the right, othering. So I might hone in with you. On the left, you might recognize when we feel seen and heard and recognized, we feel connected and we feel belonging. The opposite of that could be when you just feel unwelcomed. Like, I'm not sure if anybody here back in grade school ever was in one of those groups where you're in physical education and people are picking teams. And if you're one of the last people to be picked, like me, it doesn't feel very like belonging. It feels more like othering. Well, even as adults, this can happen, entering a room of strangers. So how can we be more deliberate to be inclusive and belonging? Well, here are some examples. Pictured here are some people who are in a wheelchair. Belonging could be just picking up trash to allow those who are in a wheelchair to have unobstructed access. When we welcome people, do we introduce themselves and ensure that these people that are with you are seen and heard? When you're speaking with other people, do you use common language? In healthcare, I know we love acronyms. Love, love, love it. But really, if we can remember to say the words rather than just the acronyms, it might be more inclusive because we never know who amongst us is new. If people share their pronouns, perhaps it's best if we can use them because that's something they've intentionally wanted to be identified as. So I think about this with you and invite you to think about the words that you use and the actions that you take to recognize and see other people. Equally, to notice for yourself, maybe in the last week, when did you feel welcomed? Here's our first application tool. In the world of coaching, we know that people can change behaviors when the first step of awareness is evident. So how can we be more aware? In this tool called the Journey Map, it helps to grow our awareness. It helps us to think about relative to belonging, what is not happening with belonging. So I'm going to describe for you how to use the Journey Map. You can use this Journey Map and think about a place where you felt belonging or othering. Specifically, pick a specific time and draw a line, just like we have pictured here, to represent the emotional ups and downs that you've experienced when making notes about what you were feeling at different points. So I'll give you a concrete example. And before I do, I'll give you thoughts about where this can be used. It could be used when you maybe join a new community class. Going to a gym, and if you're not a gym goer, did you feel belonging or othering? When you go to a work conference, is there more moments of belonging or othering? Even walking into a parent-teacher conference, if that's not a space that you're accustomed to. So in this diagram here, what I pictured for you was when I took on my new position back last summer, almost a year ago, in a new work environment at the University of Hawaii. And what I have above the line when I feel very like I belong are cups of coffee. And why I use that example is I work amongst folks in different departments and teams and programs. However, the small gesture of my neighbor who's a coffee enthusiast, who brings me coffee, feels like I belong. I'm part of the neighborhood. And when I first got here, the first 3 to 6 months, when did I feel alone? It's when I ate lunch. Something super simple, super small. And I can tell you now that the belonging is increasing because I have people to eat lunch with. So I know that's a very, very basic example, but if you're in any group or team, you could sit there and have a roundtable discussion talking about for each other, what are times when you feel connected and disconnected? And the point of that would be, how do you increase the moments of connection and decrease the moments of disconnection? Well, if you're not convinced that connection matters, I'm going to give you a real example based on a study. For those who may be soccer or football fans, we have here, and if you're not, you will soon learn, that we have 2 contenders. In the red, we have the Liverpool team, and in the black, Manchester United. I think I got that reversed, did I? Well, let me just go on with the example.
Probably fine. I am assuming many people didn't notice.
Yeah. Right. Well, the point here is you can see in the face of the athletes that they are rivals. And in the example, this is what happens. They got a crowd of Manchester United fans. I believe they're called the Red Devils. And they pumped them up. They got them really excited. And they said, please walk across the campus. And so when the Manchester United people walked across the campus, they saw strangers wearing Manchester United, so the same fan wear, who were in need. And 92% stopped to help the person in need. The second time they did this, they basically pumped up the group in Manchester United jerseys. As they walked across the campus, they saw the person in need wearing the opponent's wear, the Liverpool jersey wear. Only 30% of the people were helped. Yeah, wow, from 92 to 30%. Then it goes a third round where people in Manchester United, all pumped up, go across campus, and the people in need had no specific fanfare, and 30% were helped. So very interesting how that nuance. But I'm going to take it a step further. What happens is they took 3 more rounds, and they got a team of people, fans, who were primed for soccer, no specific team. When they walked across the campus, the people in need were wearing Manchester United, 80% were helped. People wearing Liverpool, 70% were helped. People with no identifiable wear at all, no soccer jerseys, nothing, 22%. So the point of the study is that the amount of compassion and the amount of assistance ranged from 92% when people felt some likeness and connection to others. In this case, it was the identifiable jersey wear, and to as low as 22%. So I think that really demonstrates that when we feel connection to other people, we're more likely to be able to have compassion and reach out. How that relates to this belonging would be this piece here. What you have in front of you, what we're looking at together, are moments. We can explore the moments and notice where belonging increases or decreases. So in this image here, from left to right, you can see different moments. And I'm going to highlight the 4 that I have yellow arrows to. The invitation, entering, participating, and exiting. So the invitation is very simple. When you think about being invited to, let's say, a party or even a meeting, are you given an agenda? Do people tell you how to show up, like what to wear? Is it aloha attire? Is it business casual? Is it beachwear? Is there any pre-work? And ultimately, what's the objective? Are you celebrating something? Are you making a decision? So that's where an invitation for belonging can be very inviting if it's intentional and typically explicit. The second piece would be entering. So when we joined together, very simply, I invited you with a question. And we did it in community because we offered you the chat function. That's one way of belonging upon entering, also known as a threshold. How do we make it so that people can feel seen if they choose to be? The third would be participating. How do we make it so that people feel they're being welcome? Very, very simple example. If you think about having a meal with people and you were given a choice of a square table, a rectangle table, or a round table, the round table is probably more inviting because you can see everybody at the table. So exiting will be something that I will come back to because we will exit. We will not be here forever, but I hope to be doing that in a very belonging kind of way. Next, I'd like to invite you to look at shaping. So shaping is how we explore moments to notice and increase belonging. There are many elements in shaping, and in today's time, I want to share with you 2, events and rituals. How do you create events and rituals to increase belonging? So now is the time that I want to share with you our second application tool. I mentioned I would give you 2. This one is called the assumption storm. So when using an assumption storm, there are 3 key steps. And I will give you the steps. And as we walk through the steps, I'll give you an example so that I think it becomes clearer as to how to create for belonging. Step number 1, think of the name or activity where you want to increase more, in this case, belonging. So the case I'm going to give you is, it's an after-school program for kids. Second to that would be to think about what is the objective. So this after-school program, their objective was to build participation, who they were serving and who they were not. They wanted to grow their number of participants. The second step is to start to think about, relative to your objective, what is the built-in assumption? So these folks in the after-school program, they realized that they were designing based on membership and enrollment. And what I mean by that is when kids who came to the program were not members, they waited in the hallway. They were told to come back later. So the third step in this assumption storm is you flip your assumption. So that's exactly what this after-school program did. They said, what if participation didn't put membership as a first step? And then they thought together about, let's brainstorm after flipping the assumption. And here are some of their ideas that they came up with. Bring a friend day. It's really like intentional. Or when kids do drop in and they're not members, give them a flyer so they can take it home and their family can consider enrollment. So it's a very simple example, but you can see that in an assumption storm, you could dynamically create more belonging once you create your objective and then flip for the opposite. I want to talk to you a little bit about rituals, and here's what it is. When you think of rituals, you might think about, do you include a check-in, the entering? And if you're wondering what I mean by check-in, I'm going to give you 5 easy ones today. It's like what's on the top of your mind. We did that today. You might want to think a little more deeply if you want to encourage perhaps community. Who are you relying on? You could ask the question of who are you helping? If you want to keep it light, what will you eat today? And if it's something of gratitude that you're practicing, you could ask, what are you grateful for? So each of us comes to this time today with probably a different life. And so I want to invite you to think about, when it comes to belonging, what event is happening in your life that you would want to fine tune to be more welcoming? And here are some ideas. Which balloon do you want to float? Is it a staff huddle, a team meeting, a reunion, a wedding, a memorial? I just helped someone with a celebration of life that increased for more belonging. Maybe a going away party. So I named that we would approach belonging in a few ways. And in good practice, I'd like to invite you to do one more. What are you grateful for today? Go ahead, you can unmic or chat it, but I want to give it a full minute so that people just take a deep breath and think about, what do you feel grateful for today?
Oh, I see family and being grateful for supportive supervisors and bosses. Quiet swim today. I'm actually very grateful for being a part of this presentation and reminding myself to ground myself and practice gratitude during lunch today. I'm seeing more family and good health. Absolutely.
Awesome. We've got such a beautiful mix as each person comes here with their own story. And I want to really encourage and affirm each of us here. Father Greg Boyle says, alone they didn't have much, but together they had a pot full of plenty, and each person here can contribute to a pot full of plenty. Though I'm here with you just briefly today, I want to provide you some gifts. And one of them would be, if you're interested in self-care, I did do a podcast, and it's at the University of Hawaii JABSOM Pulse. And I also work with people as they develop professionally and as whole beings in a coaching capacity. So here is my QR code that I'm happy to share with you, and I can share with Summer to leave with people. I also want to recognize that this work was inspired by Susie B. Wise and the Stanford Design School. Summer, do I need to raise the slide for the poll?
Oh, actually, if we could do questions, I didn't set it up yet. Sorry, that was my fault. You can go ahead and do the slides for the poll, actually, if there are no questions. And it's a small enough group where we can just have it more of an open discussion.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I don't see any questions right now. So why don't we go ahead? Because that often gives people time to think about questions.
Hannah, would you like me to help people through the poll as we walk through this? How do you perform this?
Usually we have a poll set up in Zoom, but they can just type their answers in the chat.
That sounds good. Let's do it that way this time. I agree.
Yeah. It's called empathetic user experience. We just twist and turn to what makes it easy for people. You let me know when you would like me to advance.
Okay.
Being a variety of answers. Some 3, some 4, some 1. It makes me want to throw out a 2.
Would you like me to give the answer and then move on?
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds good.
For the intention of belonging, though it might seem like any of these answers could be true, it is that our relationships are number 2, a source of healing and well-being hidden in plain sight. It was not meant to be a trick. Belonging is which of the following? 1 through 4. And we have a total of 4 questions.
See lots of 2s and a few 1s.
So one I would is a little tricky because the word unwelcomed in there. So what we're looking for is number 2, being seen and heard. And then here we have what 2 tools of belonging were shared today. This might be a little harder because it's new vocabulary for people.
I am seeing more 2s coming through.
Excellent. 2 it is. It's not the
It's
brain.
getting hard to keep track of which answer the 2 is for.
Right.
Good job, guys.
Right. All right, we're going to move to the last question. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, that sounds good.
Moments can be shaped for belonging by considering the design of which of the following? Summer has it. She's got a big smile.
I just feel like it's 2 again.
Yes, I'm seeing more 2s coming through. Although I personally am a huge fan of color schemes.
It's not mutually exclusive. If we had a Venn diagram, it could be that entering, exiting, and participating may have a color scheme and a theme. But I will say, this is the bonus for today. We can sometimes be misguided by color schemes and themes, and we wonder, what was missing? What was missing? And maybe it's the both and. We can have color scheme and themes and intentional entering, participating, exiting. So the answer is number 2. Yeah, pretty simple. I think I'm sharing my journal articles that we used to put this together. And I believe, Summer, I think I'm to share my bio at the end. Is that correct or not needed?
You don't have to, but you can. It's a beautiful bio. I love it with the pictures.
Now I'm curious as well.
But I'm open for questions. I know we are at the half hour.
I will open it up to questions if anyone would like to just speak out into the group. But again, you're also more than welcome to type any questions you have into the chats.
Or
That
if
was a very beautiful, beautiful overview, I think, and a good reminder over our lunch hour.
Thank you. I feel calm just from that.
You really do as well. And I came into this slightly stressed, I have to admit, not because of it, but for other reasons. And so I really do appreciate a slightly, different experience over our lunch break.
And Tracie, Ann, your voice is very calming too.
That as well.
Or does anyone have a case to share? Or if Tracie Ann, you have any interesting cases,
Mm.
stories, or experiences?
Okay, I will give you an example of how simple this can be in an environment where I pulled together 6 of us to work on well-being. The way we get together is at the beginning of every meeting. We meet maybe once a month. We rotate the 5-minute activity at the beginning of our session. And we don't have a lot of rules. It's like whatever you want that might increase the well-being of everyone in the room together. And now I think everybody looks forward to it. And we only do it for 5 minutes.
That's a good icebreaker too.
It is. I was thinking about that. It's a really nice intro into really anything, especially as you're still kind of waiting for stragglers.
Mhm.
It gives an opportunity to kind of ground and connect a little bit on that different level before you go into.
Yes, and award the people that are on time, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you. I continue to do this work in resiliency. So if ever you'd like another half hour, would love to see what works to support this community. Thank you so much. And I'll just kind of leave with Anna and Summer my contact information as well as the podcast so that if anybody didn't quite get it when we put it up on the screen, they have access to it.
Mahalo, mahalo nui, Tracie Ann. Thank you. And
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I have shared your PDF slides on our iEcho. So this QR code is there along with Tracie Ann's contact information. In 2 weeks, next PEDS Echo session, we'll have Dr. Phelps Nishiguchi and Dr. Okihiro talking about supporting a child with suspected autism while they wait for services. And until then, we are happy to give you 20 minutes of your lunch break back today. Renata, I will post a recording so you can watch it. Sorry you had connectivity issues, but we will post it up for you on iEcho shortly. Other than that, thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Tracie Ann. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.